All right, everyone. I will be doing the second to last recording for the semester. It will be chapter 8. I'm going to see if I can squeeze it all into one recording. So you might have to pause. I'm not going to go too much into depth. I will reserve that for our class meeting. If you have any questions regarding that, and or specifically regarding the Pearson and how to enter answers if needed. Okay, so let's see how this goes. All right, the notes are up there for you to follow regarding chapter 8. Chapter 8 has conics. Conics are all these wonderful, beautiful shapes that we see all over in buildings and such. And so we're going to be dealing with circles, parabolas. Circles is the easiest one. Parabolas you have seen before. You've seen the happy and sad parabolas. However, we're going to be going over the side ones, the ones that I like to call texting ones. Then we will be going over the last two conics, which are going to be a bit rough, the ellipses and the hyperbolas. Okay. And after that, the last section, 8.3, is a piece of cake. So it's mainly the first two sections. 8.3 is just literally like 3 questions on how to find the eccentricity with a simple formula up here. But the first 2 sections are the most involved sections with 4 different conics. Okay, so let me highlight this part before I forget. Okay. And this is supposed to be a Y, and it does not look like it. It's done very hard. Okay. So let's start with the circle. What exactly is a circle? Well, you've seen circles from the beginning of time, from probably elementary, and even middle school and high school. But right now, what we're going to do and we're going to focus on is finding the actual equation of a circle, equations of circles, and also the graphing part of it. So the equation of a circle is this. And again, I want to remind you that you do not have to memorize these formulas. You do, however, want to write them down somewhere and know what they mean. X minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. This is the equation of a circle. Any circle will have this format if you do not FOIL it, if you have it as this. The center will be at HK, so it's the opposite of this and the opposite of K. So you basically change the signs on both the H and the K. Notice that the center does not have the negatives. So be careful when you do these for this section. You do have to change the sign on both the H and the K. The radius, you will just see a number, but you have to take the square root of that number to find the actual radius. Okay, so here I have opposite of both numbers. So you're going to start by plotting the center, which is a dot. It is in the form of HK, which is a dot on the coordinate plane. And then you figure out R. Once you figure out the R, then you move R units going up, down, left, and right. And that R movement will give you your circle. You cannot move R line, R units diagonal. So that's why we just go up, down, left, and right. All right. So let's start here. Find the equation of a circle with a radius of 6 and a center of -3 and 4. Then graph the circle and state the domain and range. You can get graph paper if you'd like, or you can do it on the paper that I have here. Not the best, but I try to space them out as evenly as I could. So let's just use the graph paper since that's what I bought it for. Let me grab it. I'm so crooked. I use them so much. Okay, so you're going to be putting the dot, the first dot, at -3, 4. So that'll be negative up. So that's going to be on the second quadrant. So I just want to be able to put enough space in here. X, Y. Okay, so the center is at -3, 4. And the radius is 6. That's literally all I need. I can cover that up now and start on that. Okay, so each box is 1 unit. Okay, so I go 1, 2, 3, up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is the center. That is done. Now you're going to move 6 units up, down, left, right from the center. So I go 6 units up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, barely fit it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so this is the center. You do not connect the center to any part of this graph. It's just in the middle. It is not a point. It is not a point on the circle either. Okay, that's just to help you graph it. So this is a huge circle because each of my boxes, first of all, my boxes are humongous. But if you wanted to make a smaller circle, then you could always do this, right? You can always cut one box and make it 2 units versus 1. But anyway, I wanted to show you, and that's what happened. So I'm going to go like this, kind of curve it, and you're going to try your best. I'm not going to, if you were in my class face to face, I don't grade based on how pretty you make the circle. It's basically how well you know where to put the dots. And once you figure out the dots, the circle is the size of the point. When you do it on Pearson, it'll be a little bit different because that will do it on its own. Okay. So yes. Okay, something like that. I know I made a lot of them, but okay, that's the whole point. That's how you graph a circle. Okay, that's pretty much it. Very easy. All right. The next part says same as number 1, except that you're going to center it at the origin. So let's try graphing it on top. Let's try it here. Let's use a highlighter. Like that, and then I can erase this. I'm using the highlighter just so that you can see it better and not have so many pencil marks. It's not even perfect, but it's fine. All right, let's graph another one. It says, this is for number 2, this is number 1. What if I ask you that centered at the origin and radius is 3? Okay, centered at the origin. Origin is 0, 0. So this one was circle number 1. Circle number 2, so thing 1 and thing 2. Centered at the origin here, you go up 3, 1, 2, 3. Over 3, 1, 2, 3, down 3, 1, 2, 3, left 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let's do it with the blue. And that was number 2. Done. So these are 2 circles that I drew right on here, just so that I would save space. That's how you draw a circle. Center, radius, you're done. Very simple. Okay. All right, let's try the next one. The next one says, I'm not going to do the next one. I'm just going to give you the information. If you have x squared plus y squared equals 9, that actually turns out to be the same exact information. The center is 0, 0, and r squared is 9. Therefore, r is the square root of 9 and you do 3. You don't need to put plus minus because distance is not negative. Okay, but that's pretty much it. And then you would graph. Okay, let's try, that was A. Let's try B. Let's try to extract this information. So I'm just going to extract the information. You're going to graph it. Okay, so the center, like we've already gone over, is the opposite of both. So negative 3, 4, and the radius squared is 36. This equals radius squared. So when you take the square root, it is 6. Done. Okay, and then you graph. So you go ahead and practice the graphing. I'm not going to do it because I'd rather get to the algebra. like on example 4 and 5, so we can move on to the parabolas. So we're pretty much done with circles. There's not much other than doing the algebra part of it, but that's pretty much it. Okay, then you would graph. So you plot this dot, move this amount of spaces, up, down, left, right. Plot this dot, move this amount of spaces, up, down, left, right. Now, just be careful. Please make sure that this is correct, okay? And so you want to make a note to yourself, possibly for this upcoming exam, especially the final, and that is to make sure you take the opposite of these two numbers. If you do not take the opposite of those numbers, your circle will be centered at a different place and you will just get it wrong, okay? So please make sure that you do that. All right, let us move on to the algebra part of this. Okay, for example 4, it says, given the following equation in general form, write it in standard form. We're going to take this and write it in the standard form of page, like that. Okay, the way you're going to do that is by completing the square. So remember your unit 3 completion of the square. If you didn't have much on that, we are now going to use that skill again. That's how math is. It builds on each other. So for number 4, you're going to take this equation, x squared minus 6x plus y squared plus 10y plus 25. This is in general form, and you're going to put it into standard form. Standard form would be the x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. That's what you're going to put. You're going to put this form into that form. And the hint is complete the square. So if you can recall your skills from completing the square, you're going to do that twice. One for the x, one for the y. All right, so let's get started. It is on the notes. It says complete the square. Okay. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to start by putting the x's together. Any x's that you have, x squared, x's, even if they cannot combine, and that's totally fine. Okay. And then you're going to put your y's together. And your numbers, coefficients, not coefficients, I'm sorry, constants are going to go on the other side. So you're going to do the following. X squared minus 6x, and you're going to leave a blank space. And then plus y squared plus 10y plus a blank space equals negative 25. Now in math, whatever you do to one side, you have to do it to the other. You cannot discriminate. So if I add a box, you're going to add that box. Add another box, you're going to add another box. Okay, so remember how we did this? A lot of you did it differently. A lot of you added and subtracted the box on the same side. But this one you're going to be working with two sides simultaneously. So make sure that you add a box to one side, add the other. So this is like the square, right? You're completing the square. So how do we complete the square? If you guys can remember, you take this number, you cut it in half, you half it, and you square it. So that gives you negative 3 squared. This will always, always, always be a positive. Always. Okay, that's why I have put a plus. I've put a plus. You will never put a minus there, ever, ever, ever. So please go ahead and make sure you do that. You take the next one, you take that 10, you half it, you square. So we have 5 quantity squared, and that gets put into here. Whatever you add here, you add it to the other side. Whatever you add here, you add it to the other side. Okay? That's the hardest part. That's literally the hardest part. Okay? All right, now you have a trinomial that is actually factorable. You can sit there and factor it yourself, or you can see the shortcut for yourself. The shortcut, if you can recall, I said take the variable, whatever that is, x, you bring down this sign, or you can just you're basically taking the number before you square. That's basically what you're gonna do. And that's a negative 3, which is why it's a negative 3 quantity squared. That plus is here. You write down the y, you copy the number that is inside the parentheses before squaring, and then you add these those three together. These two cancel, so that just gives me 9. And I've done that. So from here, it's hard to figure out the center and the radius. From this, I can figure out that the center is 3, -5, and the radius squared is 9. Therefore, the radius is 3. So I can figure out the information from this standard form versus the form that was up here. That is it for the circle part. There's one more example. I can totally do another one, and then we will jump into the parabolas. Okay, so let's see. X squared plus 10x plus y squared minus 4y plus 33 equals 0. All right. So here again, we're going to isolate, move. My pen always dies when I need it. So I'm going to go x squared plus 10x plus some box, complete the square, plus y squared minus 4y plus some box equals -33 plus that square plus the other square. That's the standard way of doing this. And move this out. Okay, let's get started again with the work. Take this number, half it, square it. 5 squared, 25, 25. Okay, I do everything in order. Half it, square it. That's a -2. Square it, 4, 4. So I've got x plus 5 squared plus y minus 2 squared. Now, when you do this problem, okay, over here you get, and I'm not going to do it yet, it's -33 plus 29. Okay, now I don't know if you guys see an issue with that. You might have a problem where you end up with that. Please do not put that the center is -5, 2, and that the radius is 2. That is incorrect. This is not a circle. Okay, so if you encounter something like that, one of two things happen. Either you made a mistake on the math, or it actually is not a circle. It's not a possible circle. Okay, so it's okay. There are some times where they give you something that is impossible to do. And so what you have to do is just go back and verify that it was the case. All right, that finishes the circles. Okay, the next one is the parabolas. That parabolas, I try to do as easy as I could. The ellipses and the hyperbolas are the ones that take the longest, but I still try to do it as easy as possible. Okay, here are different types of parabolas, okay? You can take a picture of this page. This is just information, and you can use this on the exam. Remember, you've got one more exam. Equations of parabolas, you've got 4 different types. You've got the happy and sad faces that are on the left, and you've got the texting ones. So when you have a happy face, your eyes are here. There is a dot above that parabola. It is not a part of the actual parabola. When you graph these equations, you will never, ever, ever see this line, which is called the directrix, or that focus point. That will never be the case. It's literally like a satellite dish if you've seen them. If you've seen satellite dishes, you see the dish, right? And then there are 2 little cables coming out from that dish. And then there's a little, how do I call it? It kind of looks like a cone, right? An inverted cone, kind of like a cylinder kind of a thing in the middle, right? That would be the focus, but it's not an actual part of the dish, right? it had to be put on those two little pieces of bars so it can get sustained because it can't be flying around. But that would be the focus, and that would be the best representation of something in real life to a parabola. So have in mind that this dot right here is not a part of the graph, but you are going to have to find it. The directrix is a line that is the same amount of units away from the focus. So this is 5 units away. That'll be 5 units the opposite way. Know that when it comes to asymptotes, like I've already mentioned, and when it comes to directrix, these are lines. So you do have to write them as y equals or x equals. So this is a y equals a negative because you went down so many units, and it is y equals because it is horizontal. Okay, this is the same thing, just with a different sign because it's above. If you have the parabola going down and the directrix is on top of it. And if it's sideways, then it's on the left, and that would be x equals. And if it's on the left, the parabola, then the directrix is on the right. So wherever you have your parabola, you can see my hand, and I have the directrix here. If I rotate it, that directrix goes with it. Now it's hard to go the other way, but let me see if I can do it this way, right? And if it goes that way, that one's hard to do. It'll be going this way, basically. Okay, so this is the parabola, and this would be the directrix away from it. All right. So that's basically the general idea. Know that when you have an x squared, it will be happy or sad, which you have already seen in chapters, I believe, 3 and 4. And when it is a y squared, you will have it sideways. What else? There's one more thing. Yes, parabolas only have one of the variables squared. Notice that. X squared, y. Y squared, x. When it comes to circles, you've got two of the variables squared. When it comes to 8.2, where you're going to see the ellipses and the hyperbolas, both of those variables will also be squared. But the parabola is the only one where you have only one variable squared. Okay. So make sure you take a note of that. All right, we're going to start with the generic form. This generic form has not just the simple form here on the left. Okay, it's assuming it's at the origin, which is why you don't see this entire thing. Okay, so if HK would be the vertex, it's not a center anymore. Center is when you have a circle and it's right in the middle. But this is, you've seen this before in chapters 3 and 4. You have a vertex. Okay, it is not a center anymore, but it is a vertex. So this is the happy or sad. This is the left and right. Okay, so find the information, focus, directrix, vertex, and graph. I have centered these at the origin, and I believe, yeah, except for this one. But for the most part, I try to just center them at the origin. So it means 0, 0 to make it easy for yourself, and just not worry too much about all the little details because it is a lot. It is a lot of info. Okay, so we're not going to graph it. Okay. All right. Use this one. Okay, example 1, this is parabolas. All right, we've got x squared equals 8y. The first thing you want to identify is what kind of parabola is it? Happy, sad, left, right. The left, right is this unit new to you. The happy or sad we've seen in chapters 3 and 4. So not the new ones. This is the old one. This is the happy or sad because it's x squared. Notice that the x is squared, so it's happy or sad. Because the x squared is positive, it'll be a happy face. So what we want to do is we always want to, this is me being a little bit extra. And this is me so I can start getting a mental picture as to where the focus is, how the directrix is going to be. Is it going to be a horizontal line or vertical line? Because if on the test you accidentally put x equals 5 and it was supposed to be y equals 5, it'll be wrong. because you did not know the direction. Okay, so if it's x squared, you want to make a small picture. Okay, x squared. I'm going to put the focus and the directrix below. So focus, just like that. That's my mental image. Okay, so this is my mental image. So how do we get started? This number here represents 4c. That number is equal to 4c from what I have here. Okay, that number is 4c. C is the focus. Okay, C is the amount of units from the vertex up and down. So once I find C, I can find the focus and I can find the directrix. So if I divide by 4, C is 2. That means that since my vertex is at 0, 0, okay, and how do I know it's at 0, 0? Because it tells me here that any of these that have this form, their vertex is at 0, 0. You can also think of it this way. This is a general form, but the vertex is of HK. This does not have a number here or a number here. So my HK is 0, 0. Okay, that's the same thing. So you start off with the vertex at 0, 0. So let's just make a quick sketch. And let me actually use the graph paper because I want to do it with this graph paper. Okay. So this is how you would graph it without a table. Okay, without a table. Now, unfortunately, with some of these parabolas or these conics, it's not wise to put them in the calculator because you'll be dealing with x squares and y squares, and solving for those requires plus minuses with square roots, and it becomes quite of a mess. So let's just try to do it by hand, which actually is easier for me. Vertex, so 0, 0, here's my x, here's my y. C, I know it's gonna look like that. So I know it's gonna look something like that. Okay, I don't know how wide it is yet. I'll show you how to figure that out. But you're gonna go ahead and put a star on 2. You don't put a dot because it's not gonna be a part of the graph, but that's gonna help us graph. I'll show you how. So each box is 1 unit, like before. I should have drawn that in pencil. I hope it's not, no, you can't see it. Okay, so up 2 units, and I know it's up because that's the shape of it. So up 2 units, I'm going to make a star. Down 2 units is going to be my directrix. Okay, because it is a horizontal line. It is not x equals. Okay, it's always the opposite letter. It crosses, it goes through the y-axis, so it is y equals -2 because it's 2 units below. Okay. So the point for the focus, so we have the vertex, it was at 0, 0. The focus is 0, 2. And yeah, I've got those two. All right, so how wide do I make it? Do I just like, make it up? How do I do it without a calculator? Well, through this focus, okay, the width of the parabola through the focus is a total distance of 4c. 4c is that distance, okay? And it's symmetrical. So that means that the whole line going through here will be a total of 8 units. 8. If you cut 8 in half, you get 4. That means 4 on the left of the star and 4 on the right of the star. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I almost had it. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the width of it. And now you can make the curve. Let me grab another color. Let's do this pink one. So that's the dot. That's the other dot. You go this way and this way. That's the actual width of the parabola. Okay. Again, how did I figure it out? Let's go over this again. This entire distance I'm going to put a line, but you should not be putting a line. That line is supposed to be a total of 8. And it's evenly distributed among the star. So it goes 4 right, 4 left. So whatever this number is, that'll be cut in half. That's the amount of units it goes left. That's the amount of units it goes right. Okay. And that's pretty much it. That's everything you need to know about a parabola. Hope it wasn't too bad. Let's try another one. All right, let's try the next one. Y squared equals negative 28x. Okay, so I know that this one is a left or right. That is a left or right. Okay, so it's going to be this one or that one. If it has a negative, it's left. If it's positive, it goes to the right. Simple as that. Okay, so in my mind, I should see this image. The star is in here, and the directrix is outside. That's the image my mind should see before I even begin. Okay, vertex is again at 0, 0. Okay, let's do the math. So 4c will be equal again to this number. Okay, so that's negative 28 divided by 4. So that is negative 7. That's all I need to know. That's literally all the information and all the math you're required to do. Everything else is all graphic. Okay, done. A very thin pieces of paper. Should have ordered something better. Okay. Let's see, this is centered at 0, 0. It's going to be sideways. Okay. So here's the vertex. That is a part of the point. Vertex 0, 0. Okay. Let me. This up because I don't have enough space. There we go. Okay. So my parabola is now going to be sideways, okay, with the directrix over here. It's negative 7. It means it's going to, that focus is on the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's it. Right there. That's the start to the left. To the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's going to be the directrix. Okay, the equation for that line is now going to be x equals, and that'll be at 7. The focus is going to be at negative 7, 0. Okay, and the last thing I need, I noticed that it's such see-through paper, you can still see the circles. It's going to be a parabola sideways, right? I just need to know the width of it. Okay, the width of it will be, and this is, oh man, might not fit, dictated by this. So 4c is equal to 28 units. You can ignore the negative. The entire thing has to measure 28 units. So that means that half of them will go up, half of them will go down. So it's going to be 14 units going that way, 14 units going this way to make a total of 28. I don't know if it'll fit. What I'm going to do is, here they were by ones, but I'm going to do the y by twos. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That'll be 14. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 14. So each box is going to be 2. Otherwise, this will not fit. And you can do that. You can make one of the axes spaced out differently than the y. Okay, you just can't. You can't make this like one, like going by ones, and then you're making it by twos. No. So stay consistent on the same axis, but you can totally do that. So here, it's 14 units. 14 units, and then you can graph it. So I'm going to move the paper this way so I can graph it better. So it looks less wide than what it actually is supposed to look like because of my spacing over here. So this is -7, 0. And that's how you graph these parabolas. You try to make them as easy as possible. A lot of information about this. Okay. All right. The next problem will be giving you information about the parabola, and you have to come up with the equation. Okay. So the next ones are not graphing. Okay, before I move on, let's just quickly go through these. Let's just figure out the domain and the range. Okay, domain, this goes left and right forever. So it's -infinity to +infinity. The range starts at 0 and it goes up to infinity, touching the 0, but not infinity. So when you have a happy face or a sad face, the domain is all reals. And then the range depends on if it's happy or sad. When you have sideways, you have the domain and the range. It's the reverse, right? So the range will be -infinity to +infinity because it goes up and down forever. But then the domain depends on where it starts, whether it's happy face, left or right. So in here, you'll come from -infinity, and from -infinity, and it stops because you always read graphs left to right. Stops at 0. Okay, you will be asked that on the exam, so make sure you know how to do that. I think you guys are good at doing domains and ranges. Okay. Next one says, write an equation of the parabola. So now if I give you some information, will you be able to figure out the equation? Sure you can. Okay. So I'll do the one with the fraction. So it says focus is at 2/3 0. And the vertex is at 0, 0. That's the origin. So the first thing you want to do is identify which one is it, right? Is it up, down, sideways? You don't know, but you want to do a quick sketch. If the vertex is here and the focus is at some number 0, then it has to be over here. So what's the only way that the parabola can make this picture? The only way it can do it is if it goes this way, right? So that picture matches this right here, okay? And because it matches it, I'm going to use this. Y squared equals 4cx. It is at the origin, so that's the equation I need. And all you have to do is know the c value. So the distance from here to here is already 2/3. So c is 2/3. All you have to do is plug it in. 4 times 2/3 and do the math. So y squared equals 8/3 x, and that's my equation. All you need to know is the c value for these equations. They're very simple. Okay. This one requires a bit more work, but it's still doable. It says that the vertex is at the origin. It has a vertical axis. And it goes through -212. Okay, we do not have the focus, but we have still an idea of what this looks like. So let's give it a try. Let's try it. Vertex 0, 0. It goes through, so it touches this point, -2 up 12. And it doesn't matter, you don't have to be specific, but it goes through this dot. So there are actually two ways of drawing this, okay? There is actually, there's a lot of ways of drawing this. Well, there's 3 ways, I think. So let's use a pencil. Okay, I can draw it like this. That's one way. I can draw it this way. That's another way. And I believe there's one more way. That would be, let's try the sideways one. I can't do the left one because this is the vertex. I cannot do that. But I can definitely do the left one, right? Can't I do, I did left, left, up, down. Oh, I can do down. I can do down. No, I can't do down. I can't do down. If I do down and this is the vertex, then it would have to go, this is the vertex. So in a sad face, this would have to be the highest point. And that's not correct. That will not work. That does not work at all. Okay. So I can't do down. I can't do sideways. That's not correct. But I can definitely do happy or left. Okay. So I've got two choices and I can't guess. Like we cannot guess. We cannot guess at all. However, if they tell us that it is a vertical axis, okay? Vertical is this. Okay, so if it is a vertical axis, that means that you're going to have this to be one of two ways. Vertical axis here or vertical, okay, vertical axis here. Okay, so when you are having vertical axis, you're gonna basically think of this line cuts, cuts the, let's see if it fits, parabola in half. It is not, I repeat, it is not the directrix, not at all, okay? So if I were to choose, I have two options. I have this one where the vertex is here, or I had this option where it was this one. So you want to draw both of them, right? That go with these two dots, because two dots are not enough. Two dots are definitely not enough. Okay, but if I tell you that it has a vertical axis, it means that this line would cut the parabola in half, and it's vertical. It's a vertical line. So if I do this, yes, it cuts it in half. But if I do, I can't do the other one. Like there's no way that it cuts it in half anywhere, right? So it has to be a happy face. Okay, and once you figure out that it is a happy face going through the origin, you're going to use the equation of x squared equals 4c y. I do not know c, and that's okay, but I do have a point. Any random point is x, y. So let's plug everything in. -2 squared equals 4c y. Okay. This is a 4 equals 4. Oh, I forgot to multiply it. Well, this is 48. So I'll just do it like that. So multiply 12 times 4 and then divide by 48. So you might get a fraction, but it doesn't matter because you are not graphing anyway. So that'll be 1 over 12, 112. And now you can give the equation that is not your answer. Your equation will be x squared equals 4 times my c times y. That's still not done. So I do 1/3 y. That's your final answer. Okay, so that's how you would do that one. It's not too bad. Not too bad. I hope. Okay. All right. With that in mind, we've got this one. And we've got that one. Okay. Let's see. I'll do this one. This one's graphing. Okay, let me get you started with this one, but I won't finish it. I want you to give it a try. So this one is not at the origin, by the way. So keep that in mind. when you are dealing with these, you have to put them in the standard form that I showed you here. So notice that it is the quantity squared equals blank. Quantity squared equals blank. This is not correct. Okay. So for example 3, you're going to have to move some stuff. Okay. You're going to move the 2. And then you're going to multiply both sides by -8. Okay. So that's going to give us, and I'm going to grab these and flip them. Okay. So that's y plus 3 squared equals -8x minus 2. Why am I doing that? So it matches this. And now you can see what that is. So go ahead and finish this, and then we can go over the class. Okay. We'll do the last one. And this one, I want you to give it a try. See if you can come up with the equation of this parabola. So that was number 3. Example 4. You try. Okay. So I'm going to stop this recording because I don't want to make it too long. It already is a little bit overwhelming. And so I'm going to give it a stop. And I will do the other 2 conics in the other video. All right.